All right, so we've come to the end of the Blackwell Ghost franchise for now.
Until part 9.
Dun, dun. Yes, this one does end on a to be continued, so there should be a 9. You know, you never know, of course. I've seen plenty of movies end with a to be continued, and for there never to be a continuation. But he's got a good track record for keeping that promise.
Yeah.
He's done it like, I don't know how many movies end with the actual words to be continued, but I feel like everything since 3 has had the to be continued thing. Because I don't remember at the end of 1 or 2.
Yeah.
Maybe 3 and beyond, but whatever it is, at least 4 or 5 of these films have had to be continues. And so far he's delivered on all of them. But this came out last year in 2024. His track record with like release dates was, he was putting out like 1 every year. I think the longest he went was 2 years. And then there's a couple, 2 different times, he released 2 of these in 1 year.
That's pretty impressive.
So, if we were to go by that,
yeah,
the longest we would wait is next year. But I wouldn't be surprised if you see 9 out later this year.
I also wouldn't be surprised, honestly.
Yeah, so I don't know when he'll announce it. We'll try to keep an eye on it. I honestly don't even know what to follow. So if you are a Turner Clay like follower, like if you follow him on some form of social media where he keeps, you know, updates going or whatever for his films, please let us know. Maybe he's already announced a release date. I've not been able to find one. I looked and there was nothing. So I doubt it. But regardless, let's talk about the Blackwell Ghost 8. Now, one of the best things about this review is that we watched these all kind of back to back to back.
Yes.
And then we waited like days, weeks on some of these to talk about them.
Or so, maybe, yeah.
And we kept forgetting. And then we were worried, like, well, if people are watching these along with us, we don't want to talk about spoilers for the next one,
right,
this and that. So finally, this one, we can
talk
about anything we want, and it won't matter, even if it's in another film. It's not going to be a spoiler.
Yes.
Thank fucking Christ. There were so many times.
There were so many times that we were like, wait, is that in this one? Or is that in the next one?
We might still do that.
We definitely did, like, stumble on a few things, for sure. But we tried to be like, wait.
The only thing that we will confuse, maybe, with this one is something that might happen in 7. Because 7 and 8 are kind of, like, their own story.
Right.
Right? This has to do with, like, this serial killer kidnapper guy. The first 2 are very much paired. Then 3 through 5 are kind of all paired.
Yeah.
And then 6 is like its own thing.
Right.
Right? So I think 3 through 5 are very hard to remember what's happening in which one. If I look back on them like, oh, when did the phone ring and this happen with this one? And when did blah, blah, blah.
Yeah.
That being said, 7 and 8, especially 8, has a good amount of Lightfoot house. So I could see some confusion of when certain things took place in that house, but I feel like those are the like matched sets as this franchise is as of now, and I have a feeling 7, 8, and 9 will be like a match set like 3 through 5 were. Mm-hmm. I don't know how long he's gonna continue to keep doing this like serial killer thing. I had watched a lot of like these hacker videos with my kids on YouTube years ago. Stupidest fucking things. God, they were stupid. Chad Wild Clay was one of the guys, and a bunch of other YouTubers my kids were obsessed with. And it's funny because they actually are like really dumbed down kids versions of these last couple movies.
Sure, yeah. Well, I didn't watch those, but like I could definitely see
It's like he left us a clue.
Yeah, this is very
meet at this time and
not tropey, but kind of like very typical. Like the serial killer is playing with somebody and like leading them along in a game, which is fine. I think.
I have
think
to say these are my favorite 2 of the franchise.
They are.
This is probably my favorite of them.
And this is the one where we've been kind of talking as the movies have progressed. Like, this is the one that heavily changes from, a very pure found footage to, like...
My top note.
It's very documentary.
Yes.
Yes. There are a lot of really cinematic shots, a lot of those, like, recreation shots that we were talking about. They were, like, he's opening a mailbox and there's a camera inside or whatever.
And there's one, like, from his POV... Like, where he'd have to have it, like, a camera on his face. I was like, this isn't working.
It's fine. We've already kind of... I don't think we need to talk about it anymore. We're both fine with it. Like, it's not a big deal.
And this is the first one where the movie starts where he's being interviewed.
Yes.
For his... Like, they're making a documentary on him, basically.
That was interesting. I'm curious as to, like, where that's gonna go.
I have no idea.
Because I didn't feel like that was...
part of
obviously
this movie.
Like wrapped up in this at all.
Yeah.
It just was like he reached out to have like, you know, his side of things said, which is fine. I think that is interesting, but you know, I have a lot of faith in him. I think he does a good job at tying up loose threads in the films, like with the next installments. Mm-hmm. So I have no doubt that we'll get more information and perspective on things in 9.
Yeah. I have a feeling Turner was up late looking for inspiration. He tapped the well on the Paranormal Activity franchise, and eventually that well ran dry, right? And then he was looking for his next thing, and he really leaned into it in this one, and that is... the Saw franchise. This opening, yes, where he's getting a straight up Jigsaw tape being given to him. He plays it. The voice on it is Jigsaw's freaking voice. Yeah. It's like straight up want to play a game.
Yes.
And then the phrases he's using is stuff like, people don't appreciate their lives, but you will after this, and all this stuff. And I'm like, bro, okay, how many Saw movies did you watch before you wrote this?
Yeah, it was very, very, very derivative, reminiscent of Saw. We were like laughing about the voice and everything.
Yeah.
It's fine though. I mean, I don't know. I don't really care. Like, I like the movies and stuff. I could see this being a critique for people though, but being like, it feels like a ripoff of Jigsaw and everything. It kind of is, but I don't know. Yeah. I'm fine with it, to be totally honest. I like this like serial killer story that we're going down. Yeah. And I'm very interested to see like how it retroactively might impact some of the other films. Like we were talking about with like 4 and 5 at the Lightfoot house, and it might change things there.
Yeah, I mean, it is possible, like I said, that the face in the window is going to be the killer.
Right. I'm super curious if that's what happens.
I hope so. Yeah. That would make it very cool. So, very believably, because his character is a bit of a dumbass at times, and I think this is something that we can all fall for, right? He gets duped by an email, which gives the killer access to his security system.
Almost every like company in the world, like unless they're sending you like a password reset link, you're never gonna get an email being like log in now. Like you have to re-log into your account. So many people don't know that. But I think that the email that he shows is professional looking enough. Yeah. That you could fall for it. Yeah. But yeah, email phishing and stuff is so common, and it does show his kind of his gullible nature a bit. Yeah. So
I'm just a huge fan of, I grew up on point and click adventure games. Indiana Jones and the Fate of Atlantis is the one that got me into it. And ever since that game, I've played through a freaking myriad of so many different puzzle games. It's my favorite kinds of games. I always love when like the what are they called? Dungeon.
Like dungeon. Oh, not dungeon crawlers.
That's what I was gonna say. But
I don't know if that's what.
I don't like that. Like Tomb Raider and of course Uncharted is my second favorite franchise.
Like
in video
treasure
games.
Hunting games or like things where you get to
They
find
always
clues.
have some stupid like puzzle that you've got to solve when you go into some old temple, and you know they've had this sophisticated ass system of water networks and all this stuff. You press pull the levers and do shine the light on a certain thing
to make a shape.
I don't care, I love it. And we start to kind of get into that stuff in here. So he's given this like little wooden decagon which fits on top of his note that he was given in the last one, and he smartly puts together that the 10 sides to this shape is supposed to be symbolic of the 10 bodies that are still currently missing.
Yeah.
After he's found 8 now, because he finds the remains of 4 more bodies, which I don't think we ever mentioned. But they lead them to them, and so he gets the crow symbol, which has like both the symbol things that he gets in this have 2 different colors in it.
One of them's red and one of them's green, I think.
Yeah, I know one is for sure green. But what it ends up being is he goes and he finds these mounts. These like almost compass mounts.
Yeah.
And he's directed there by these different like riddle puzzle things.
Yeah, he also gets go ahead. He gets more help with those riddles because in previous ones he was talking about how he like posted on like online like armchair sleuths communities, like smaller communities.
Shout out to Misty from Yellow Jackets.
Yeah. And he gets like one guy who's like really dedicated and ends up solving a couple of the riddles for him.
What's his name?
I don't remember what his name
Jordan.
Jordan, yeah. So, yeah, but I was just going to say Jordan helps him with these. So, but you're right. He gets those mounts and, like, finds that they, like, point towards where victims were. Right? One of them does, at least.
Well, he figures out that when he traces the line, it goes through the Lightfoot house.
Right.
And then another one does the same thing. And there, somewhere along the lines, it says that like a triangle, I forget what the triangle thing, but it's I wrote it down here somewhere, but essentially he's looking for a triangle, and then later, like towards the end of the movie, Jordan figures out that the triangle, the 2 shapes plus the Lightfoot house across make this triangle. And in one of the riddles, it talks about, a place where only birds will go.
Yeah.
And, when you're up a creek with a paddle and all these like, clues, there's a little island called Bird Island.
Yes.
That he rows out to and gets there. That stuff to me, I love that shit. Yeah, I do. See, this one just has so much mystery and like problem solving, and this one never felt stagnant. It never felt repetitive. It didn't feel like it was aping off of any of the other movies or anything, right? Yeah. Like 3 through 5 have a very repetitious nature to them. I still enjoy them. But this one is like, for me, where he's really hitting his stride with his creativity. Yeah. Where he's really, now, this is unfortunately where you start running the risk of being too over the top, too elaborate, and too silly. And people start to check out like, okay, this is getting ridiculous. Like what happened, not personally for me, but with a lot of audiences with the Saw franchise, where they're so convoluted and the writing is terrible and this and that. I heavily disagree. I think they're extremely complex and like, they work so well. Interconnected with one another, very, very intelligently. I love franchises like Paranormal Activity. It's more modern franchises. Old horror franchises didn't do this almost ever. I can't think of any off the top of my head that do this, but it's modern horror franchises that always have that interconnectivity, that attention to detail when it comes to the continuity, and that every entry adds a new layer to a previous entry.
Yeah. Something
that completely flips the way you think about something. And some people don't like that, especially when they do it in a legacy sequel, right? Like in Rogue One, since we just finished Andor, where it's revealed that Galen Erso actually purposely put this exhaust vent in the system, which is made this ridiculous flaw in the system that people critiqued for 40 years. Like, why would they have something like that on this? And it's like, well, that's because Galen Erso did it. And then, people get mad about that kind of stuff retroactively. But I am a big fan of this kind of stuff. And if he can go back like he's doing right here and start adding new layers to stuff, like we said, if that face in the window is, the killer in this, and his wife is the one that's making the phone calls at 2:47, 2:40, a.m. And you start looking at the films different. Like, she's alive at that point, but that's her calling from potentially the future.
Right.
I love that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
That adds so much to the franchise. It adds so much fun to the other movies.
Yeah, I agree. I think that this is really where he's shining with his creativity, and I'm very excited to see the next one, because I think if he continues doing what he has been, it could really just enhance the rest of the movies, and I think that's a smart thing to do.
Yeah.
Especially when you have potential not plot holes, but things that people have noticed and been like, how would this work or whatever.
Yeah.
I think that could be a really great way to just retroactively fix things.
I remember now how he finds where the first mount is. So the cops they find a tape on one of the dead bodies, and on the tape it's just some recording, and then later tape 2 is sent to them, and it's about if you can find the differences. And then they get sent the second tape, and it sounds exactly the same. And so he calls Turner, and it's a very podunk operation. They don't have a technology department or anything like a big city would have. And the guy's like, I listened to them. They sound exactly the same. And he's like, are you kidding me? That's all you did? You just listened to them? You didn't run them through any kind of program to try to see if there's anything on them? And he's like, can you send me the tape? So he sends him the tapes, and I like how he wrote that in there, where he does try his best to keep it at least believable, right? Like, the cop's like, look, you're gonna have to sign these out. He sends it in very official looking police packaging with these forms that he has to sign to make sure that it's evidence and that it can't be, has to be returned and this and that, and he's a civilian. I liked all that. That's the kind of stuff that it's maybe is nothing to anybody else, but to me it's like, yes, cool. You are trying to make this feel real. Kudos to him for that. He gets the tapes, he digitizes them, he looks at them, and he finds that there is an embedded code in the tape. He focuses in on it, he screws with its settings, and he finds out that it's Morse code. Mm-hmm. And he deciphers the Morse code, and the Morse code is what leads him to the first Decagon. That kind of stuff, awesome. This is what we need more of in this franchise. The whole sleuthing and clues. I love it. He introduces this. I think we started getting this in 3 or 4 is when he introduced. I think it's 4, where we find out that James Lightfoot had this code on his body, and then there wasn't a cipher for it. And then he's given it through that speaking spell, which he then deciphers, which leads him to Sarah's body. That's cool shit. But he decided, instead of just doing that like a little bit once or twice in a movie, I'm going to make an entire movie centered around figuring out all these puzzles. It makes it much more difficult. It makes it like a lot more creative muscle has to be flexed, but it's much more interesting to watch for me.
Yeah. Sorry, there was a lot that you said there.
No, I know.
The other part with the police officers in this is that they kind of have like an argument, which is why he ends up being having somebody interview him. And I like that is there because he's like feeling, I just think it adds a good drama to it. Like I feel like I completely understand where he's coming from and like his frustration with the like lack of help he's getting from the police when he's been nothing but like helpful to them.
Yeah.
And when he gives them like an opportunity to potentially catch this guy, which is, he's right, like the guy shows up and like they could have got him.
Yeah.
I would be so upset too because it's like he's not getting paid, I assume. He's like a, volunteer deputy or whatever the heck they call it.
Yeah.
So he's doing all of this like on his own time. Yes, he's making a movie and everything, but like still. And he's also been like threatened at his house. Like the guy's been at his house, his children have, been in danger because they haven't been able to stay at home and all this stuff. And, I feel like I would be so upset with the police if I was like, I can get him to come here, like, because he essentially like discovers that there's a tracking device on his car, which is really cool the way that's discovered too, with like the Wi-Fi trying to connect and him finding out that it's just a tracking device.
You would think he would have renamed that thing, but
sure, but yeah. And I think that's very smart, to keep it on and that he can kind of like lead him around.
Yeah.
But yeah, I like the police, like the fight that he has with his friend.
Mm-hmm.
So. Yeah,
when the scene where he uses himself as bait and the killer's in the house right behind him, in the living room of the Lightfoot house, that scene definitely was very annoying to me for a lot of reasons. Number one being that in film 7, he is asked if he has a gun. Yeah. And then when things are going on in his house, he doesn't have his gun anywhere on him. And it's like, well, why put that into the plot? Why even mention it if you're never going to have a gun? Then in part 8, he finally brings the gun out and he goes to the firing range, which he fucks up and accidentally shoots it, which he could have killed someone.
Yeah.
Very easily. I don't know how many gun deaths happen at gun ranges. I can't imagine too many, but man, when you're fucking around with live bullets and you got a dipshit in the building, it's very easy to get someone killed. So he does go and hey man, maybe that scene is trying to illustrate I am more dangerous to myself with a gun than to anybody who's coming after me.
Yeah.
But yeah, we see him at the firing range, which makes you think like, okay, now he's going to have a gun. Now he's going to do it. And then this motion detector is going off in the house.
Around the house. And he has it set up in like the perimeter.
And he goes in the house and the thing's going off and he's looking around. Yeah, it's pitch black and everything, but he's looking to the left and he's looking forward and he's turning around. But it's like he's so purposely trying to not look into the very open space in the living room.
Yeah.
Now, you could argue this is out of fear, but it looks like he's checking his corners, but he doesn't decide to check his 6. He doesn't decide to look right behind him in the most obvious place anyone would be. It would be like me walking in this house and looking everywhere but the middle of the living room.
Yeah.
Like, what? Come on. And then he just, purposely turns back to the left and runs out the door. Like, he never, ever, for 1 second, turns to the right, where the largest body of room is.
And most people, you can kind of sense when there's like somebody in the room with you.
Yeah.
Maybe not me, but
Kaylee's oblivious. I'll pull up next to her in my car and I'll just stare at her and I'll like make faces and move and she'll just be sitting there at the light, just freaking happy little silly girl. And I'm just like, Jesus Christ, you're so unaware of your surroundings.
I try not to be.
You purposely shut them off, and I think a lot of women do. But man, that's not smart.
I don't. I mean, I try to be aware of my surroundings.
Do
like
you?
I don't intentionally.
That's
not
you
do
trying.
it. But definitely in my house, I feel like I would be less on guard for sure. But the thing with this is that this isn't. I mean, yes, it's his house, but it's like. No, this isn't like his home. This is a place that he knows to be haunted, that he knows this guy has like been to, especially. Yeah, it is a little silly. I don't really have a good reason for why, except maybe he like does know, like he does feel like something's there and he like can't confront it. So he turns the other way. That seems unlikely. Maybe, you know, because like the camera that we're seeing, I don't think it's a night vision camera though, but I guess you could just be like, it's really dark, and like he just didn't, the guy's like standing completely still, so he didn't see anything out of his periphery. But I do feel like if he had just looked like this really quick and then looked back, that would have been fine. You know what I mean? Like, because he's like up against the back wall. So like if he had just turned his head, like if he just walked past him and then like looked over and then like, you know, did whatever, then I could be like, okay, like he just didn't see him there because it's so dark, the guy's in all black and he's not moving. You know?
I think it would have been cool had he been like hiding behind something. And when like Turner goes to turn
to Turner,
that the guy like kind of ducks behind something, and then when he like puts his flashlight up, he gets a little closer to him and then like hides again, and he like looks and hears something,
scary.
and
yeah.
then he moves a little closer, and then Turner finally like hears something and runs out the door.
That would be scary,
right? And he got just close enough, but then maybe I would have liked had because this is where the speak and spell is also coming back into play, where the wife's like danger, which I don't think we've mentioned before. The danger thing doesn't make sense to me. The DANGER part does, because it's spelling things out, but I don't know what word. So if she like typed in danger and then it said danger,
yeah,
then I'd be okay with it. Right? Like if you type in words specifically, then it like says them out loud. Maybe it has like certain words that you can put in there. If there was like a specific button on the speak and spell where you could press that and it would access the word, like certain words, and one of them just so happened to be danger. But at no other point when the thing is being hit on does it say any other words. But also, I just, the fact that it comes before doesn't make any sense.
It is speak and spell. So I think that it's, if you spell out a word that's an actual word, it will say it first and then spell it.
That doesn't make sense. If you have to, so you have to press in the words.
Things still get pressed, yes. And then it says, it takes that information, sees that it's a word, so it says danger, and then it spells DANGER.
No, that doesn't make any sense.
Because the only other time that it's never had any words, as you said before, that it's only had the string of random numbers, so it wouldn't try and pronounce that.
So are you trying to say that it entered all 26, and then it's like it waited for it you to stop? There's a certain amount of time before you like press it, and then there's a delay, and then it says all of them one after the other. But I don't remember, because
when he blows on it, it might do it right away. When he tests it, if it does it right away, then I don't know.
The speed in which the letters are given out when it's the cryptograph, is fast.
Yeah.
When it's danger, it's slow.
Yeah. I don't know. I don't really have a better explanation.
It doesn't matter at all. I just don't understand why it would say danger. It should just say DANGER.
Yeah.
That's good enough for me. I like that it says danger, but if you're going to do that, explain why it's saying danger. Show the thing and be like, you can press in, like, there's these words that are options or something. But It doesn't really matter. I liked it. Another thing I want to point out here, something that we were making fun of throughout, my kids and I especially, is that every time Turner takes a phone call, especially from the cop, he'll always be like, all right, I got to go to my computer. I'll call you right back. And it's like 2 seconds. He like hangs up the phone. He walks over to his computer. He turns it on and he calls him back. It's always like, every time he gets a phone call, it's always like, what's that? Okay, I'll call you right back. And there's no reason for him to get off the phone 9 times out of 10.
Yeah.
He can literally just walk over to the computer that's 5 feet in front of him, turn it on, sit down while staying on the phone with the guy.
I feel like he does it a lot when he's driving because he is driving. So he's like, I'm not going to talk while I'm driving.
He talks plenty when he's driving.
He does.
Before, so.
Sometimes, I feel, but not that much.
There's so many times where he's in the house and he still does it. It's just.
Yeah. He'll be like in the garage and I'll be like, okay, let me go to
It's
my
supposed
computer.
to add some form of like urgency to things. Like, I'm going to drop everything and I'm going to go do this thing right now and I'll call you right back. It sounds more important.
Yeah.
When you're like, I'll call you right back.
Yeah.
And there's like this stress in his voice, right? Like that. I think that's the intention. But there's so many times. There's certain times where I'm like, yeah, okay, that makes sense that he would call him back. He's like, I'm 5 minutes away from the house. I'll call you back when I get there. That makes perfect sense. Yeah. But there's like a time where he's in his office and he's like, all right, I'm going to boot up the computer. I'll call you right back. And it's like, booting up, I don't know if he says that specific, but it's just like you literally walk over to the computer that's 2 feet in front of you and press on.
Yeah.
Why the fuck would you need to get off the phone? Or like, he's in the car, but he's parking and he's like already parked and he's like, I'll call you back. And he like walks into the house, goes into his office and then calls him back. It's like, can you not chew bubblegum and walk at the same time? You can't keep him on the phone? Because sometimes it's like, I have information for you. And he's like, okay, well, I'll call you right back. And it's like, you can get the information while walking over to the computer.
Yeah.
Like, there's so many. I didn't want to bring it up more than once. But we waited for the last video. Yeah. But he says it throughout the whole franchise. And it's freaking funny to me. Every time. So, whatever. And then, let's see. He gets a message that says you have mail. He checks his mailbox. There's nothing. He checks all these things. And he's like, wait, I know what it means. And he goes out to that mailbox where he gets his new compass. Mm-hmm. That gives him more coordinates. And, oh yeah. I already talked about that stuff. The drone footage, we kind of already discussed that. Completely unexplainable. I have no idea. The only thing we can come up with is that he filmed this stuff later to add in cinematically to make it look cooler. The killer very much addresses what everyone is thinking. I shouldn't say the killer. I apologize. Turner says what everyone's thinking. That Joseph Lightfoot is definitely not the killer.
Right.
Because that's the most obvious person it could be.
Yeah.
But we do find out that James Lightfoot has an adopted son.
Yes, that's correct.
Right?
Yeah.
And this is the guy they arrest, right?
No.
And no, who do they arrest?
They arrest
at the end?
somebody that they find a license plate.
Right, in the picture.
Live stream the picture that he sends. There's like a license plate, and they go to that guy's house.
Do we find out who his adopted son is?
No.
We don't. Okay.
No.
Okay.
We don't know who the adoptive son is yet.
Okay. Yeah. And who did we think the license plate guy? Did we have any guesses on who that was?
We thought it might be Joseph.
Joseph Lightfoot. Yeah.
But they would mention it, I feel.
I do too.
So I don't know who it is.
Yeah.
They did say it was an older guy.
They did.
Yeah.
I think that's like one of the things that kind of clued us in on that. It might be him. And then let's see. Then he never pulls out his gun this whole time. That's fucking crazy. Although after shooting it like he did in that firing range, probably smart. He never touches a gun again. Yeah, he gets the help from Jordan. That path leads him to the island, and he finds the 10 names,
Yep.
all pointing in different directions. I don't know if that's supposed to be that all 10 bodies are buried on that island, and he's just found all 10 of them.
Yes, it says that they're all buried around the headstone.
Right, okay.
So they're all right there around it.
Right, okay. That makes sense.
Yeah.
And then, he's got a new manifesto.
Yeah.
He's not finished. To be continued.
Yeah. Pretty big cliffhanger.
Oh, huge.
Yeah.
Yeah. Hopefully, like, his kids don't die in the next one. And,
oh, my God.
And we're just going to take a U-turn and...
That would be crazy.
Completely go off path for a while, and his kids are playing with toys around the house or something.
Yeah, I'm very curious about the next one.
Yeah. I have a feeling it's going to come out late, like in October this year.
That would be great if it did.
Yeah.
Yeah, October releases are always nice.
How long would you watch this franchise for? Until it got stupid or something?
Yeah,
or
pretty much. Like, until I was just, like, not interested in it anymore.
Would you
or
watch
it got lame.
8 more of these?
I mean, if they're all, like, interesting.
Yeah.
Yeah, why not?
Yeah.
You know, people watch so many seasons of TV shows.
Sure.
We've kind of talked about how this feels very, like, episodic. So... Yeah, I would watch as long as I was liking them. And if I start feeling like, oh, I'm not really into these anymore, then I would stop.
Of course. Yeah, I mean, these are only about an hour a piece. TV shows are about an hour a piece.
Yeah.
TV seasons have 8 to 10 episodes a season. Shit, some have 24, but, you know, a lot of modern television series have like 8 to 10 episodes. And at an hour apiece. So if this was a TV show, this movie would be only the end of season 1.
Yeah.
You know, if you were to go like that, and you could have, you know, multiple seasons of something like this. So it is interesting to me that movies get that kind of scrutiny, but I guess movies try to tell a condensed version of a season in a film, right? So it's like 1 season per film. And by the time you get to like movie 6, 7, you're 7 seasons in. Mm-hmm. And then the story typically becomes stagnant and stale and repetitive. Not always. But I feel like television series are usually like great up until like season 5. That's the good cutoff point for most shows. Yeah. There's definitely exceptions to that, where shows have went many seasons past 5 that I've loved. Mm-hmm. But it is on the rarer side. Anyway, so that's the Blackwell Ghost franchise. All 8. We've seen them. We've talked about them.
We have.
I'm very much looking forward to the next part. And once again, if you guys have any information on any of this stuff, is that his wife? Is she really dead? Any leads on a release date for part 9? Mm-hmm. Where to follow him for information? Any of that stuff would be helpful. And where do we think 9 is gonna go? Yeah. I mean, now that he's found all of the bodies, if that's what that means, and those are the final 10 bodies, who is the killer? Is it the son, the adoptive son? Right? What's his motivation? Yeah. Why is he coming after Turner? Yeah. Because Turner is uncovering the bodies? I mean, they were meant to be found, right? Like, he leaves something in the walls. There's a cipher that's left, or like a puzzle. Yeah. Right? He leaves on his own dead body. Right. He wants people to find this. Yeah, and I guess it's because Turner's the first person to actually start piecing it together. But does that mean James was working with, or is he possessing his own son? Right? Because with this franchise, we are dealing with the supernatural for sure.
Yeah.
Is it possible we're dealing with possession? Is that somewhere we could possibly go with this,
Right.
where James Lightfoot is inhabiting the body of his son,
Yeah.
and he's he's giving clues to Turner, but while he's doing that, he also is becoming he's an antagonist, so he's antagonizing him while he's doing it. But now that he's kind of served his purpose, will there be more bodies that no one knew about that James had done, or is he going to start adding to his tally, like he did earlier with the 19th victim, if he was possessed? This reminds me of the Frighteners, right, where he starts killing from beyond the grave to continue upping his numbers. Will it go down that route? Because the Lightfoot mystery has now been solved.
Yes.
Right? There are no more bodies to find. And now we're dealing with the killer specifically. How will any of the ghost stuff play in? Will we ever make our way to the Blackwell house again? Right? Since we've called this franchise the Blackwell Ghost, and we use a picture of Ruth Blackwell on every fucking cover.
Yeah.
Is it ever going to connect back to the Blackwell haunting? Or are we... Because there's 6 films now that have mostly focused or centered around the Lightfoot house, and we haven't even seen the Blackwell house in 6 entries, soon to be 7.
Yeah.
Right? So there's a lot of questions. There's a lot of information that needs to happen here, and you can add plenty more. So I feel like this can go on for a while, especially if once he wraps this serial killer thing up, which I think he's going to do it in the next movie, if not. I don't know. I don't see it lasting more than a movie or 2, more than this.
Yeah, I mean, he kind of has tied back in the Lightfoot house into multiple movies. Yes. So I don't really know. I feel like the serial killer thing could go on a little bit longer.
It could.
Like it could circle back.
It could. It's just that he did the Blackwell house for 2. He did the Lightfoot house for 3. He did his wife's death for 1. And he did the Lightfoot house killer now, which is disconnected from... It's connected to, but it's kind of its own thing that just so happens to be connected to the Lightfoot house. And that's become 2 movies. So it doesn't seem like he sticks to a specific plot line for more than 2 or 3 films.
Yeah.
That's what I'm going off of why I think he'll probably wrap up the serial killer thing by the next movie, and then leave a thread open for a new haunting, a new house.
You're probably right.
By the end, and a to be continued, like, oh, we're going to another house.
Yeah.
Maybe.
That makes sense.
Yeah. So, will we see his kids again? Any of that kind of stuff. So, I have a lot of questions. I'm very much looking forward to the next one.
I am too.
Any guesses on who the killer is?
No, I have no idea. Maybe
maybe
the police officer.
I thought that too. His
But...
buddy on the phone that he's like pissed off at.
Yeah, maybe.
Maybe it's Jordan.
I also was a little suspicious of Jordan, but Jordan has like a kind of a lisp when he talks. I think he's sort of like a...
Maybe that's a character he's playing.
But yeah, maybe. It could be... I mean, those are the only 2 other people that we've, like,
right.
heard anything from. So, those are the only, like, suspects aside from, like, obviously the actual Lightfoot son. But we've had it pretty much explicitly told, like, it's not him, and I don't see why he would change that. That would be weird.
The guy in the hat killed the other guy in the hat.
Yeah.
It's a murder mystery that's 3 pages long with only 2 characters, one of which is dead on page 2.
Yeah, exactly.
If you haven't seen Throw Mama from the Train, do yourself a favor. Very funny. I always bring that up when there's very little characters it could possibly be as the killer.
Yes.
And yeah, you're right. There's Jordan. There's his buddy, the cop buddy. And then I guess a Joseph Lightfoot.
Yeah.
Right? But he swears up and down as him, not him, which could be wrong. So that's another option.
I think that would be weird, though.
Or it's this now introduced son adopted son, right? Because the thing says like, your father can be your father regardless of blood or whatever.
Yeah.
So I guess those are your 4 options, and then of course a 5th random Betsy Palmer or Pamela Voorhees character that just is like, who the fuck is this?
Yeah.
So,
yeah.
Anyway, I think my wife is overheating.
I am.
And she's going to die if we don't turn on the air conditioner, which we cannot put on while we record because it's so fucking loud. So, I'm going to do her a favor and let her stop sweating.
Thank you.
I'm torturing Kaylee.
Yeah.
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 All right. Anything more? Of course not. She's too hot.
Nothing more. Until next time.
All right, guys. We'll see you in the comments. Bye.
Bye.